Hi everyone, this is Ahmed. In today's video, we are going to get you started with Excel macros. We would see what the Excel Visual Basic Editor looks like and also how you can record macros using the built-in macro recorder. So let's get started. Welcome back everyone. So first thing you're going to need to get started with VBA is the Visual Basic Editor in Excel. Now, how do you get to that? There are many ways. One of the ways is to press Alt plus F11 on your keyboard, and that would open up this window, which is the Visual Basic Editor. Another way to open this is to go to the Developer tab and click on the Visual Basic icon here. That will also get you to the same window here. Now you can see there are three sections here in it. One of the sections is this area. This is called the Project Explorer. This is where you would see all your sheets, the workbook. Now this section here is the properties window. Here you would see the properties of the selected object. So if I select this workbook, I'm seeing the properties of this workbook. If I select this sheet, I'm going to see the properties of this sheet in this area. And this gray area here is where the code would be. This is the coding window. So these two sections here, the Project Explorer and the Properties window, can be closed using these cross buttons. So sometimes you might end up closing them by mistake, and then you might wonder where they went. So no need to worry, you can bring them back from the View tab. Just click on the View tab and you will have both of these options here, the Project Explorer and the Properties window. Just click on them and they would reappear like that. Now that we are familiar with the Visual Basic Editor, let's record our first macro. To record a macro, you can click on this little icon here, uh, just beside the ready, and that will start recording the macro. Or you can also do that by going to the Developer tab and clicking here, which says Record Macro. Let's click on it. Once you click on this, you will get this pop-up. You can give your macro a name, you can give it a shortcut key. Okay, then you can tell it whether you would like to store this macro in a new workbook or in this workbook, or you can give it a little description as well. Give it a name, press OK, and that will start the recording. You will notice that this little icon here has now changed to stop. That means that we are now recording. Now the Excel is going to record every action that you take on this workbook. Uh, so now we'll go to the Home tab and just click on Find and Select. Okay, it'll say go to Special, and you would say go to constants and just the numbers. So that would select all the constant numbers available on this sheet, and we will press OK. So that would select all the numbers which are constant, not formulas. Okay, and then we would give it any color to just to highlight it. Okay, so just fill this, and then we would click on the stop. So once you click on the stop button, you will notice that this button will change back to what it originally was. That means that our the macro recording is now complete. It has now stopped. We have successfully recorded the steps that we just did. So in case we have to replicate the same steps again, we can just call our macro that we have just recorded instead of having to do those steps manually. So let's just create another sheet with the same data. Okay, and let's just clear this. Okay, so now instead of selecting and highlighting manually, You can just call that macro that we just recorded. To call that, go to the View tab, click on Macros, click on View Macros, and you would see the list of the macros that are available. So this is what we recorded, my first macro. We can call it by selecting this macro and clicking on Run, or we can just double click on this to run that macro. See? So instead of having to go all the way to home and find select and then go to special numbers constant and then selecting the color, we can just double click on that macro, and all of that is going to be done. We have just recorded our first macro successfully that we can reuse on any number of data sets, and we're going to get the same results without having to do all those steps manually. So this is rather a simple example. You can actually replicate, uh, record any number of complex steps, and as long as your data is of the same structure, you can always use the same macro to perform the same actions again. Let's have a look at the Visual Basic Editor. What has changed after the recording? We press Alt plus F11. We are here in the Visual Basic Editor. So we'll notice here that we have a new section called this modules. So this modules is where all of our code lives. Okay, so as we see, this is the macro that we recorded, my first macro. This is the code. So this is a subroutine. All the subroutines would always start with sub and with end with end the sub. So after the sub, you would have to give it a unique name, which can be anything. It needs to start with a letter. It can't start with a number. There can't be any spaces in between the names. Um, Other than that, it can be anything. So everything in between these sub and end sub is our executable code. So this section is what is repeating the same actions every time we call this code. Sometimes you might notice that there's some green color text in your code, in your recorded macro. So this green color text is just these are just comments. Uh, these are not executable code, so you can always add more comments by starting a line with an apostrophe and type whatever you would like to, and that would not be executed. This is just comment. Let's check what each of these lines of code are doing on your worksheet to understand the code better. So you can do that by stepping into the code uh, by pressing F8 on your keyboard. So you can just put your cursor anywhere in between the sub and end sub and press F8 on your keyboard. That will start highlighting your code one line at a time. So now you see this line is highlighted. This means that next time you press F8, this line is going to be executed. So now let's see what this line does to our worksheet. We can just put it to one side so that we can see what's happening on the sheet. So let's press F8 again. So let's see what this line does. Yeah, so this line just selected all the constant numbers. After that, now when I press F8, this line is going to be executed. This did nothing. Nothing visible happened. Same with this one. No, now this one changed the color. And when I press this one, now this actually adjusted it to the shade that we selected, right? And when we press this one, press F8 one more time, nothing visible happened and end it. So this is it, guys. We have covered the layout of the Visual Basic Editor. We have also seen how we can record a macro, and then we have learned to step into that recorded code and see what each line of that code does. So this is really a great way, guys, to get started with VBA. We can always record any number of actions that we do on the Excel spreadsheet and then check the code step into it line by line to see what each line does and get familiarized with the syntax of the VBA. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Tell me what else would you like me to cover. I'll try my best to do that for you. If you haven't already, please click on the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. Thank you for watching, guys. See you in the next one.